Hello, welcome to News Mongolia on MNB World. I'm Jugdur Gambold. And for our top stories, fatality among hospitalized patients after Bainzurg district collision. Private sector investment forum was successfully organized. Primary healthcare assessment reveals disparities in accessibility for adolescents. For the news, stay with us. On the night of January 23rd, a collision between a car and tanker truck carrying liquefied gas in the 26th Hora of Bainzurg district resulted in explosions, causing substantial loss and damage. One hospitalized victim of the explosions died on Saturday night.
3 firefighters lost their lives while bravely responding to the blast at the scene of the collision, and a 19-year-old patient who sustained burns on 90% of their body died on Saturday night. One victim of the explosion is in a critical condition, 4 are in severe conditions, and 8 others are in serious conditions. 27 people were hospitalized in the wake of the incident, with 13 being discharged after receiving medical attention.
Initially, 3 firefighters lost their lives, and this Saturday night, a 19-year-old patient died due to injuries. There is some fake news spreading that the number of victims has reached 20-something. We have been totally transparent about the number of victims and casualties.
The damage from the collision extends beyond human casualties, with 2 residential buildings, 35 vehicles, and 1 shopping centre suffering substantial damage. The intensity of the explosions and subsequent fire has left a trail of destruction, with losses yet to be fully assessed by the authorities. Emergency response teams worked tirelessly to manage the aftermath to assist those affected. Authorities are conducting a thorough investigation to determine the cause of the collision and the ensuing inferno. The tragic event serves as a stark reminder of the political dangers associated with the transportation of hazardous materials and the critical importance of stringent safety measures to prevent such incidents in the future.
The Private Sector Investment Forum was successfully organized today in the ballroom of Shangri-La Hotel in cooperation with the Ministry of Economy and Development of Mongolia and the Asian Development Bank.
On this occasion, the Asian Development Bank presented the priority directions, criteria, general terms and conditions of financing for the private sector, along with the application process.
So highlighted by the Deputy Premier that Mongolian economy needs to be growing constantly for next 10 years. This will be really useful for Mongolian economy to grow. For that reason, the private sector investment is key because there's not enough budget to cover all these investments, and therefore the American Chamber of Commerce is being representative of the private sector investment in Mongolia, will play a key role attracting investors, especially from America and also other third neighbor countries like Japan and EU. Therefore, it's very important for us to modernize our legislative environment, as well as provide incentives for investors to invest in Mongolia.
The government of Mongolia holds the belief that maintaining a consistent economic growth rate of around 6% for over 10 years is imperative to ensuring the country's economic security. This serves as the foundation for stable income among the population. Contrastingly, in certain years, the implementation of policies to support the economy has led to a significant 17% increase. When populists dominate and their focus extends beyond supporting the economy, it poses the risk of economic collapse. If this pattern persists, Mongolia's economy may struggle to develop sustainably. Therefore, the forum organized today aims to foster discussion on strategies to support the private sector amidst these challenges.
In 2023, Mongolia's economy is projected to grow by 6.8%, marking the highest growth rate in the region. This notable expansion is primarily attributed to the mining and service sectors. Unfortunately, the agriculture sector experienced a decline of approximately 9%. According to this indicator, the private sector contributes significantly, accounting for 79% of Mongolia's economy and gross domestic product, or GDP.
Because what we call the enabling environment for private sector is very, very important. You know, just in my short time being back here, I've heard about impediments for regulatory issues, reform issues, even in the banking sector, or in the, we're talking about logistics areas, some of the future areas that require abilities for the government to put certain laws and regulatory frameworks in place to allow for these different sectors with their different issues to actually attract foreign investment. And that's one of the main things, is that, we need to look and help from our sovereign side, who can then work with the government to change some of the policies and regulatory issues that are impeding private sector. And there's various ones, depending upon the sector and the type of industry that you're looking at. But I think that we want to be a partner for this. And so if you can actually unstick and unclog where the impediments are from the public sector side, and then create that enabling environment for the private sector, that will attract foreign direct investment. That will attract investment from financial institutions and ADB. So those are some of the things that we're looking at, and it really depends upon what sector and such that you're looking at.
The forum's inauguration saw Deputy Prime Minister Hurl Patter, alongside Suzanne Gabori and Shannon Colan of the Asian Development Bank, delivering insightful speeches to set the tone for meaningful discussions on strategies to support the private sector in overcoming challenges and ensuring Mongolia's economic prosperity in the years to come.
Results of a primary healthcare assessment were shared during a meeting attended by representatives of the Ministry of Health of Mongolia, the UNFPA and UNICEF. The assessment sheds light on health services areas that require improvement, with a particular focus on expanding accessibility, especially for teens and preteens.
Primary health care plays an important role in achieving universal health coverage. The assessment was conducted to identify disparities in accessibility to ensure comprehensive coverage for diverse population groups. One notable revelation from the assessment was the disparity in accessibility for adolescents in puberty compared to younger children. Adolescents navigate a crucial phase in their development, and providing them with comprehensive sexual and reproductive health education is imperative. Health services should prioritize initiatives that offer accurate information about puberty, relationships, contraception, and sexually transmitted diseases. Giving adolescents knowledge empowers them to make informed decisions, fostering a healthier transition into adulthood.
I think it's notable to know that this finding, there's some of the people who don't have a service, right, that need to be reached, which is very important with those combination of the service. And then the second one, which is also very important, is the integration of some of the new services and how the whole insurance can take into account those who don't have those services, and very important. So the integration of the new services, the coverage of those services by the insurance service are those key findings for this. In addition to that, I think there's a lot of bunch of capacity building that need to be done to upgrade the capacity of the health workers to support the integration. And one of the notions that come up during this gap analysis also is the acceleration to achieving the SDG for the primary health care, because it's very important to address those issues.
If adolescent and youth are not healthy, they are not able to contribute to the future of Mongolia. So this assessment was focused on adolescent and youth health friendly services, also early and child development services. to primary health care. This is very important because youth-friendly health services will be integrated into the primary health care in a very remote area where the majority of adolescents and youth who are in a very remote area, they may not have access to quality services to receive the health services they need. That's very important to provide and expand the services to very remote area, and primary health care is the entry point for adolescents and youth.
The assessment is a valuable tool to guide efforts to enhance primary health services and bridge accessibility gaps. By pinpointing areas that require attention, health authorities can formulate targeted strategies to improve healthcare provision for specific age groups, ensuring a more inclusive and equitable healthcare system.
Now please take a look at currency exchange rates provided by the Mongol Bank. Now please have foreign news partnered with international news agencies. At a rally in South Carolina Saturday, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley said her determination to stay in the Republican nominating fight has Donald Trump in an emotional tailspin. It was the start of a rolling list of jabs Haley leveled at the former president.
She brought up Trump's age, his lack of policy specifics, and his mounting legal troubles, alluding both to a civil verdict for defaming a woman who accused him of sexual assault and more than 90 felony indictments for his behavior before, during, and after his presidency.
And here he had a court case yesterday, and to be honest, I have not kept up with any of his court cases. I don't know exactly what he's been charged, what he's been found innocent, what he's been found guilty. I know there's 91 charges, but I truly have been focused on running for president and not these other things. But I know that that they came down and they're asking for a lot of money from him. And so I hear him sitting there ranting on how unfair this is. But this is the issue that I have. Maybe it's fair, maybe it's not. I don't know. But what I do know is all that time that he's spending in a courtroom defending himself, he's not fighting for the American people.
Trump has yet to debate Haley, but she renewed her challenge, tying it to her previous calls for competency tests for politicians, her way to highlight Trump's and Biden's advanced ages. A one-on-one debate, she said, would be the ultimate mental competency test.
Thousands of Palestinians are fleeing the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis as Israeli troops advance in the area. Residents are ordered to leave a downtown section that includes Nasser Hospital and 2 smaller medical facilities, are seeking refuge in Rafah, near the Egyptian border, carrying whatever belongings they can.
The United Nations reports that approximately 1.5 million people, constituting around 2/3 of Gaza's population, are now crowded into shelters and tent camps in and around Rafah. The offensive in Gaza has resulted in extensive destruction in the northern part of the territory, where Israel claims to have largely dismantled Hamas. The consequences are dire, with an estimated 1.7 million people displaced within Gaza, according to the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency. Most displacements have occurred in the north, where entire neighborhoods have been reduced to shelled-out wastelands, raising concerns about the possibility of residents returning. The health ministry in Gaza reports that Israel's air and ground offensive has led to the death of more than 26,000 people. The Israel-Hamas war was triggered by October 7th attack in southern Israel, where Gaza militants killed around 1,200 people and took about 250 hostages.
Tech industry insiders at London's British Educational Training and Technology show say AI should be an integral part of the school curriculum. They say AI is becoming an increasingly common part of our lives, and primary school children will grow up alongside it.
The London's Excel Exhibition Centre for BET, British Educational Training and Technology, is a show for teachers to learn all about the latest technology and the benefits and challenges of incorporating it into the classroom. The show has been running since the mid of 1980s, the time when computers and technology first started to enter school lessons.
For students, they should learn AI or application ASAP. So that is the meaning of the whole course. Why we put the professional application, stream it down into the elementary level as early as possible, starting from primary and then secondary school.
AI isn't specifically on the national curriculum, but there are mentions of technology on there that could refer to AI. It's absolutely going to be fundamental for these children in their lives. So it's really important that we teach them about it, how we can use it. And from our point of view, we have a digital citizenship strand where we need to talk to them about the responsible use of AI and also the potential dangers of AI.
The last time the United Kingdom's national curriculum was published was in September 2014, and 10 years is a long time in technology. The curriculum sets out the teaching requirements across schools in the UK to ensure all pupils receive a standardized level of education. There is no specific mention of AI though, and many educators at BET are mindful of the omission.
In the last year, we built a game called Generation AI, which teaches children about the principles and ethical uses of AI. So from a very early age, we want children to think about responsible use of AI. What are the underpinning principles? For example, fairness. What is fairness? How do we avoid bias? Why does AI potentially have bias, and how do we avoid that? And so we're starting to teach children not just how to use AI, but to think about AI use in everyday life and how they would build upon that. And we do that in a game-based way.
It's just so important because young people are growing up in the world of AI, and arguably has been doing for a while, and they might not recognize that they are artificial intelligence models are actually making decisions about them. So for example, if they're using Spotify or Netflix or something like that, then all of a sudden they're interacting with AI machine learning.
The flagship London event attracted around 30,000 educators from around the world. There are sister events taking place in Brazil and Kuala Lumpur later in the year. BET ran at London's Excel Exhibition Centre and concluded on January 26th.
Now please have international current affairs.
Landmarks across the UK were lit purple to mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day on Saturday. In the capital of London, lights illuminated the London Eye observational wheel, while a video display of candles was played on the large screen in Piccadilly Circus. The Civic Hall in the northern English city of Leeds was also lit. International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Thousands of protesters gathered in Tel Aviv on Saturday in an anti-government demonstration calling on the leadership to resign. Family members of hostages held in Gaza by Hamas militants and victims of October 7th spoke at the demonstration urging for meaningful action. The Israeli-Hamas war has killed more than 26,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, and destroyed vast swaths of Gaza, displacing nearly 85% of the territory's 2.3 million people. The war started after Hamas' attack on October 7th in southern Israel, which killed about 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and about 250 hostages were taken. More than 130 are still being held captive, and their families have been intensifying their protests in recent weeks in an effort to put more pressure on the government to reach an agreement with Hamas.
All right, that's all for today. Thank you for staying tuned. We'll see you next time with more news and updates. Have a nice day.